His sermons. Section I. Sermons for householders. 1. The happy householder. 1. Once Anathapindika came to where the Exalted One was, made obeisance to the Exalted One and took a seat at one side. 2. Anathapindika was anxious to know wherein lay the happiness of a householder. 3. Accordingly, Anathapindika asked the Lord to explain to him the secret of the householder's happiness. 4. The Lord said, first is the happiness of possession. A householder is possessed of wealth, justly and righteously acquired by great industry, amassed by strength of the arm, and earned by sweat of the brow. At the thought I am possessed of wealth justly gained, he gains happiness. 5. Second is the happiness of enjoyment. A householder is possessed of wealth justly and righteously acquired by great industry, amassed by strength of the arm, and earned by sweat of the brow, enjoys his wealth and performs acts of merit. Thus at the thought I am doing meritorious deeds with my wealth which was justly gained, and so forth, he gains happiness. 6. Third is the happiness of freedom from debt. A householder owes no one any debt, great or small. Thus he gains happiness. Thus he at the thought of I owe no man anything, and so forth, gains happiness. 7. Fourth is the happiness of blamelessness. A householder who is endowed with blameless action of body, blameless speech and blameless thinking gains happiness of blamelessness. 8. Verily, Anathapindika, these 4 kinds of happiness are constantly obtainable by the householder, if he strives for them. 2. Daughter may be better than a son. 1. When the Exalted One was once at Shravasti, the king of the Koslas, Pasendi, had come to visit him. 2. While the king was engaged in a conversation with the blessed Lord, a messenger from the palace arrived and, approaching the king, announced to his private ear that Queen Malika had given birth to a daughter. 3. The king appeared very sad and depressed. The blessed Lord asked the king the reason of his sadness. 4. The king replied that he had just received the sad news that Queen Malika had given birth to a daughter. 5. Thereupon the Exalted One, discerning the matter, said, a woman child, O Lord of men, may prove even a better offspring than a male. For she may grow up wise and virtuous, her husband's mother reverencing true wife, a daughter. 6. The boy that she may bear may do great deeds and rule great realms, yea, such a son of a noble wife becomes his country's guide. 3. Husband and wife. 1. At one time, the Exalted One had entered the high road between Madhura and Niranja. Also many householders and their wives had joined the high road between Madhura and Niranja. 2. Then the Exalted One, having left the road, took a seat under a certain tree, and these householders and their wives saw the Exalted One seated under it. 3. So seeing, they came to where the Exalted One was. Having come, they made obeisance to the Exalted One and sat at one side and asked the Blessed One the right relations between the husband and wife. To the householders and their wives so seated, the Exalted One spake thus. 4. Householders, there are 4 ways for a husband and wife of living together. A vile man lives with a vile woman, a vile man lives with a goddess, a god lives with a vile woman, and a god lives with a goddess. 5. Householders. A husband kills, steals, commits impurity, lies, and indulges in fermented liquor, is wicked and sinful. With his heart possessed by avarice, he lives the life of a householder and abuses and reviles virtuous people. Also his wife kills, steals, commits impurity, lies, and indulges in fermented liquor, is wicked and sinful. With her heart possessed by avarice, she lives the life of the family and abuses and reviles virtuous people. Thus indeed, householders, a vile man lives with a vile woman. 6. Householders. A husband kills, steals, commits impurity, lies, and indulges in fermented liquor, is wicked and sinful. With his heart possessed by avarice, he lives the life of a householder and abuses and reviles virtuous people. But his wife abstains from killing, thieving, sexual impurity, lying and indulgence in fermented liquor. His wife is virtuous and of good behavior. With her heart freed from the taint of avarice, she lives the family life and abuses not nor reviles virtuous people. Thus indeed, householders, a vile man lives with a goddess. 7. Householders. A husband abstains from killing, thieving, impurity, lying and indulgence in fermented liquor, is virtuous and of good behavior. With his mind freed from the stains of avarice, he lives the family life and abuses not nor revile virtuous people. But his wife kills, steals, commits impurity, lies and indulges in fermented liquor, is wicked and sinful. With her heart possessed by avarice, she lives the family life and abuses and reviles virtuous people. Thus indeed, householders, a god lives with a vile woman. 8. Householders. Herein, a husband and a wife both abstain from killing, thieving, impurity, lying and indulgence in fermented liquor, are virtuous and of good behavior. With mind freed from taints of avarice, they live the family life and abuse not nor revile virtuous people. Thus indeed, householders, a god lives with a goddess. 9. These, householders, are the 4 ways of living together. Section 2. Sermons on the need for maintain ing character. 1. What constitutes the downfall of man? 1. On one occasion the Blessed One was dwelling in the monastery of Anathapindika, in the Jita Grove, near Shravasti. 2. Now when the night was far spent, a certain Deva whose splendor illuminated the whole Jita Grove, came to the presence of the Blessed One, and, drawing near, respectfully saluted him and stood at one side. Standing thus, he addressed the Blessed One in verse 3. Having come to interrogate the Blessed One, I ask thee, O Gautama, about the falling man. Pray, tell me the cause of one's downfall. The Blessed One consented to explain the causes of man's downfall. 4. Easily known is the progressive one, easily known is the declining one. A lover of the Dhamma is the progressive one, a hater of the Dhamma is the declining one. 5. The vicious are dear to him, in the virtuous he finds nothing pleasing, he favors the creeds of the vicious, this is the second cause of one's downfall. 6. The man who is drowsy, fond of society, not industrious, indolent, and who manifests anger, this is the third cause of one's downfall. 7. Whosoever, being rich, does not support his aged mother and father, who have passed their youth, this is the fourth cause of one's downfall. 8. He who, by falsehood, deceives a Brahmana or an ascetic or any other mendicant, this is the fifth cause of one's downfall. 9. The man who owns much property, who has gold and food, but alone enjoys his delicacies, this is the sixth cause of one's downfall. 10. The man who prides in birth or wealth or clan, and despises his own kinsmen, this is the seventh cause of one's downfall. 11. The man who is a debauchee, drunkard, a gambler, who squanders whatever he possesses, this is the eighth cause of one's downfall. 12. Not contented with one's own wives, if one is seen amongst courtesans and the wives of others, this is the ninth cause of one's downfall. 13. He who places in authority an intemperate spendthrift woman, or a man of similar nature, this is the 11th cause of one's downfall. 14. He who, of slender means, but vast ambition, of warrior birth, aspires to sovereignty, this is the 12th cause of one's downfall. 15. Know these causes of downfall, ye noble Deva, and if ye succeed in overcoming them, ye will be saved. 2. The wicked man. 1. The blessed Lord, while he was on journey, gave, as was his usual practice, the following discourse to the bhikkhus who were accompanying him. 2. Addressing the bhikkhus, the Lord said, Do you know how to recognize a wicked man? No, Lord, replied the bhikkhus. 3. I will tell you the characteristics of a wicked man. 4. There is a man who shows up the faults of another even when unasked, not to say when asked. Being indeed asked and plied with questions, he speaks ill of another without suppressing or concealing, but with full details. Brethren, such a man is a wicked man. 5. There is a man who, being asked, does not point out the good qualities of another, not to say when unasked. Being indeed asked and plied with questions, he speaks well of another. 6. There is a man who, being asked, does not disclose his own bad qualities, not to say when unasked. Being indeed asked and plied with questions, he points out his own bad qualities, but suppresses and conceals them and does not give full details. Brethren, such a man is a wicked man. 7. Then again, brethren, there is a man who, even unasked, discloses his good qualities, not to say when asked. Brethren, being asked and plied with questions, he points out his own good qualities without suppressing or concealing them and giving full details. Brethren, such a man is a wicked man. The best man. 1. The blessed one, while he was on journey, gave, as was his practice, the following discourse to the bhikkhus who were accompanying him. 2. Addressing the bhikkhus, the Lord said, "There are 4 classes of persons, brethren, to be found in the world. 3. He who has not striven for his own welfare nor that of others, he who has striven for others' welfare, but not his own, he who has striven for his own welfare but not others, he who has striven for both his own welfare and that of others. 4. One who has striven neither for his own welfare nor for that of others is like a torch from a funeral pyre, lit at both ends, and in the middle smeared with dung. He kindles no fuel either in village or in forest. He is useless to the world. And he is useless to himself. 5. One who has striven for the welfare of others at the cost of his own is both excellent and eminent of the two. 6. Then again, brethren, in the case of the person who has striven both for his own welfare and for that of others, of these 4 persons, this is best and chief, topmost and highest and supreme. 4. The enlightened man. 1. At one time, the Exalted One had reached the high road between the 2 towns of Uppkatha and Setabya. Then the Brahman named Dona had also reached the high road between Uppkatha and Setabya. 2. Just then the Exalted One left the road and sat down at the foot of a tree cross-legged. Then Dona the Brahman, following the footsteps of the Exalted One, saw him seated at the foot of that tree, resplendent and of a comely appearance, with sense controlled, with mind appeased, supremely tamed, restrained and powerful. So seeing, he approached where the Exalted One was. 3. Having come, he said thus to him: Is not the Venerable One a Deva? Brahman, I am indeed not a Deva. Is not the Venerable One then a Gandhabba? Brahman, I am indeed not a Gandhabba. Is not the Venerable One then a Yakha? Brahman, I am indeed not a Yakha. Is not the Venerable One then a man? Brahman, I am indeed not a man. 4. Having heard the Blessed One reply thus, the Brahman Dona said: When thou art asked, Are ye a Deva? Thou sayest, No. When thou art questioned, Are ye a Gandhabba? Thou sayest, No. When thou art asked, Are ye a Yakha? Thou sayest, No. When thou art questioned, Are ye then a man? Thou sayest, No. Who then can the Venerable One be? 5. Brahman, verily I was a Deva, a Gandhabba, Yakha, a man, so long as I had not purged myself of the intoxicants. These very intoxicants have I now given up, with roots cut out like unto a palm tree, with its base destroyed and rendered unable to sprout again, so that in future they do not come into existence. 6. Just as a lotus or a water lily born of the water, grown in the water, risen out of the water, stands unstained by the water, even so, Brahman, being born of the world, grown in the world, having overcome the world, I abide unstained by the world. 7. Therefore, O Brahman, consider me as the enlightened one. 5. Man just and good. 1. Addressing the brethren, the Lord said, There are 4 classes of persons whom you must learn to distinguish if you wish to ascertain who are good and just. 2. Brethren, there is a class of persons who strive for their own welfare but not that of others. 3. Brethren, herein a certain person practices the extirpation of lust in himself, but does not urge the extirpation of lust in others, practices the extirpation of ill will in himself but does not urge the extirpation of ill will in others, and also practices the extirpation of ignorance in himself but does not urge the extirpation of ignorance in others. 4. Indeed, brethren, this is the person who pursues his own welfare, but not the welfare of others. 5. Brethren, there is a class of persons who have striven for others' welfare, but not their own. 6. Brethren, herein a certain person does not practice the extirpation of lust, ill will and ignorance in himself, but urges the extirpation of lust, ill will and ignorance in others. 7. Indeed, brethren, this is the person who has striven for others' welfare, but not his own. 8. Brethren, there is a class of persons who strive not, neither for their own welfare nor that of others. 9. Brethren, herein a certain person practices not the extirpation of lust, ill will and ignorance in himself nor urges the extirpation of lust, ill will and ignorance in others. 10. Brethren, this is the person that has not striven for his own welfare nor that of others. 11. Brethren, there is a class of persons who strive for their own welfare as well as that of others. 12. Brethren, herein a certain person both practices the extirpation of lust, ill will and ignorance in himself and also urges the extirpation of lust, ill will and ignorance in others. 13. Brethren, this is the person who has striven for his own welfare as well as that of others. 14. This last person is to be deemed just and good. Need for doing good deeds. 1. On one occasion, thus spake the Exalted One to the brethren. 2. Be not afraid of good works, brethren. It is another name for happiness, for what is desired, beloved, dear and delightful, this word good works. I myself, brethren, can bear witness to having reaped for many a long day the profit of good works, a thing desired, beloved, dear and delightful. 3. I often ask of what deeds is all this the fruit? Of what deed is it the ripening, in that I am now thus happy and contented? 4. The answer that comes to me is, of 3 deeds this is the fruit. Of 3 deeds this is the ripening, the deeds of charity, self-taming and self-control. 5. Auspicious, festive, happy, blessed dawn. Fair day, glad time is that when alms are given to worthy ones, when goodly acts, words, thoughts, right aspirations, bring auspicious gain to those that practice them. 6. Happy are they that win such gain, and prosperous in the way. So be ye also prosperous in the way, free from disease, and happy with your kin. Need for making good resolutions. 1. Once, when he was at Shravasti in Jita's grove, the Exalted One said to the brethren. 2. Brethren, there is a great need of good resolutions to be made and observed for a pure and happy life. 3. I will tell you what your resolutions should be. 4. Resolve that, all my life long may I support my parents. May I respect the head of my clan. May I be of gentle speech. May I speak evil of none. Clearing my heart of the stain of selfishness, may I dwell at home generous pure-handed, delighting in giving up. May I be a proper man to ask a boon of, delighting in sharing gifts with others. 5. All my life long, may I be angerless, and, if anger arise, may I quickly check it. 6. Such are the 7 resolutions, brethren, by undertaking and performing which you will attain the state of happiness and purity. Section 3. Sermons on Righteousness. 1. What is righteousness? 1. Once, when the Lord was on an alms pilgrimage in Kosala, with a great train of almsmen, he came to a Brahman village of the Kosalans named Sala. 2. It came to the ears of the Brahman heads of families in Sala that the blessed Lord had come to their village in the course of an alms pilgrimage in Kosala. 3. They felt it was good to go and visit him. So the Brahmans of Sala went to the Lord and, after exchanging civil greetings, took their seats on one side. 4. They asked the Blessed One if he would explain to them what he meant by righteousness. 5. So to the attentive Brahmans the Lord said, There are 3 forms of unrighteousness and wickedness for the body, 4 for speech, and 3 for thoughts. 6. As regards bodily unrighteousness, a man, may take life, as a hunter with hands bathed in blood, given to killing and slaying, merciless to living creatures, or 2. May take what is not his, by appropriating to himself in thievish fashion the belongings of other people in village and jungle, or 3. May be a fornicator, having intercourse with girls under the charge of mother or father or brother or sister or relations, yes, with girls affianced and plighted, and even wearing the very garlands of betrothal. 7. As regards unrighteousness of speech, a man, may be a liar, when cited to give testimony before assembly or village meeting or family council or royal household or his guild. He may say that he knows when he does not know, or that he does not know when he does know, or that he saw when he did not see, or that he did not see when he did see, deliberately lying in the interests either of himself or of other people or for some trifling gain. Or 2. He may be a slanderer, repeating here what he has heard elsewhere so as to set one set of people by the ears, and repeating elsewhere what he has heard here so as to set another set of people by the ears. He is a dissolver of harmony and a fomenter of strife. Discords prompts his utterances, discord being his pleasure, his joy, and his delight. Or 3. He may be bitter of tongue. What he says is rough and harsh, hurtful and wounding to others, provocative of anger, and leading to distraction. Or 4. He may be a tattler talking out of season, without heed to fact, always talking of the unprofitable, never of the doctrine, never of the rule, but ever of the trivial, of the ill-timed, of the frivolous, of things leading nowhere, and unprofitable. 8. As regards unrighteousness of thought, a man, may be covetous, coveting other people's gear with the yearning that it were all his own. Or 2. He may be malevolent and wicked of heart, wishing that creatures around him might be killed, destroyed, annihilated, or cease to be. Or 3. He may be wrong in outlook and erroneous in his conceptions, holding that there are no such things as alms or sacrifice or oblations, that there is no such things as the fruit and harvest of deeds good and bad, that there is no such thing as this world or any other, that there are no such things as either parents or relations elsewhere, that there are no such things in the world as recluse and Brahmans who, having trodden the right path and walked aright, have, of and by themselves, comprehended and realized this and other worlds and made it all known to others too. 9. Contrariwise, there are 3 forms of righteousness and goodness for the body, 4 for speech and 3 for thoughts. 10. As regards bodily righteousness, a man, puts from him all killing and abstains from killing anything, laying aside cudgel and sword. He lives a life of innocence and mercy, full of kindliness and compassion for everything that lives. 2. Theft he puts from him and eschews taking from others except what is given to him by them. He lives an honest life. 3. Putting from him all sensual misconduct, he abstains from fornication. He has no intercourse with girls under the charge of mother or father or brother or sister or relations, no intercourse with girls affianced and plighted and with the garlands of betrothal upon them. 11. As regards righteousness in speech, a man puts lying from him and abstains from lies, when cited to give testimony before assembly or village meeting or family council or royal household or his guild. He says that he does not know when he does not, and that he does know when he does, says that he did not see when he did not see, and that he saw when he did see, never deliberately lying in the interests of himself or of other people or for some trifling gain. 2. All slander he puts from him, and from slandering he abstains. What he hears here he does not repeat elsewhere so to set one set of people by the ears, nor does he repeat here what he hears elsewhere so as to set another set of people by the ears. He is a promoter of harmony and a restorer of amity, for concord is his pleasure, his joy, and his delight. 3. There is no bitterness in his tongue, and he abstains from bitter speech. What he says is without gall, pleasant, friendly, hearty, urbane, agreeable, and welcome to all. 4. No tattler, he abstains from tattle, speaking in season, according to fact, always of the profitable, of the doctrine and rule, in speech which is seasonable and memorable, illuminating, well-marshaled, and of great profit. 12. As regards righteousness in thoughts, I, a man is devoid of covetousness, never coveting other people's gear with the yearning that it were all his own. 2. He harbors no malevolence or wickedness of thought. His wish is that creatures around him may live on in peace and happiness, safe from all enmity and oppression. 3. He is right in outlook and correct in his conceptions. 13. This is what I mean by righteousness and unrighteousness. Need for righteousness. 1. Then the Exalted One addressed the lay brethren of Pataligma. 2. There are losses, householders, which attend the wicked and immoral man. 3. The wicked, immoral man, as the result of sloth, comes to great loss of wealth. 4. Then again, an evil report prevails about him which defames him in the eyes of the world. 5. Whatever company he may enter, be it a company of the nobles, or the Brahmins, or the housefathers, or a company of recluses, he enters shyly and confused in mind. He is not fearless. This is the third loss. 6. Again, he has no peace of mind and is troubled in mind when he dies. This is the fourth loss. 7. Such householders are the losses that attend the wicked and immoral man. 8. Consider the profits which attend the righteous man who lives virtuously. 9. The righteous man who lives virtuously comes by a great mass of wealth due to his own exertions. 10. Then, again, a good reputation prevails about him. He is honored everywhere. 11. Into whatsoever company he enters, be it of the nobles or the Brahmins or the housefathers or the recluses, he enters bold and confident. 12. Again, he enjoys peace of mind and makes an end with mind untroubled. 13. The fool in doing ill knows not his folly, his own deeds like a fire, the fool consume. 14. He who offends the harmless innocent soon reaches grievous disaster, or a mind distraught, loss of relations, loss of all his wealth. Righteousness and the claims of the world. 1. Once when the Lord was staying at Rajagraha in the bamboo grove where the squirrels were fed, the Reverend Sariputta was making an alms pilgrimage with a great train of almsmen among the southern hills. 1. 2. On his way he met an almsman who had spent the rainy season at Rajagraha. After interchange of greetings of friendliness and civility, Sariputta inquired after the master's health and was told he was well, as too was the confraternity, and also the Brahman Dhananjani of Tandula Pala Gate in Rajagraha, concerning whose health too Sariputta had made inquiries. 3. And is the Brahman, Dhananjani, zealous and earnest? Asked Sariputta further of the almsman. 4. How could earnest zeal possibly dwell in Dhananjani? Replied the almsman. He uses the king to fleece the Brahmins and householders, and uses them to fleece the king. Also, his pious wife who came of a pious stock is dead now, and he has taken to himself another wife who is not pious and comes of no pious stock. 5. This is bad news, very bad news to hear of Dhananjani's lack of zeal, said Sariputta. Perhaps, however, at some time and place I may meet him. I should like to have a talk with him. 6. After staying as long as he wanted in the southern hills, Sariputta proceeded on his alms pilgrimage till he reached Rajagraha, where he took up his abode in the bamboo grove. 7. Early in the morning, ball in hand and duly robed, he went into Rajagraha for alms, at a time when the Brahman Dhananjani was out of the city seeing his cows milked in the byre. 8. On his return after his round and meal, Sariputta sought out the Brahman. Seeing him coming, the Brahman came to meet him with the remark that they had time for a draught of milk before mealtime. 9. Not so, Brahman, I have had my meal today, and shall be resting under the shade of a tree during the noontide. Come to me there. 10. Dhananjani agreed, and after his own meal joined Sariputta, seating himself by him after friendly greetings. 11. Said Sariputta, may I rest assured, Dhananjani, that zeal and earnestness and righteousness are yours. 12. How can that be, when I have to support my parents, my wife and family, and my slaves and serving folk, and have to entertain my acquaintances and friends, my kith and kin and guests, and have also to provide for my kinsfolk dead and gone, and for the deities, and for the king, not to speak of supporting myself in meat and drink? 13. What think you, Dhananjani? If we suppose a man who, for his parents' sake, has departed from righteousness and equity and is being hauled up, would it avail him either to plead on his own behalf that it was for his parents' sake that he had departed from righteousness and equity, and that therefore he should not be hauled up? 14. No, despite all appeals, the wardens would cast him into prison. 15. Would it avail him either to plead on his own behalf, or to have his wife and family plead for him, that it was for their sake he had departed from righteousness and equity? 16. No. 17. Would it avail him if his slaves and serving folk pleaded for him? 18. Not a whit. 19. Or if his friends and acquaintances pleaded for him? 20. Not a whit. 21. Or if his kith and kin or his guests pleaded for him? 22. Not a whit. 23. Or if his kinsfolk dead and gone pleaded the claims of his deities, or his monarch's claims on him? 24. Not a whit. 25. Would it avail him to plead on his own behalf, or to have others pleading for him that it was to support himself in meat and drink that he departed from righteousness and equity? 26. No. 27. What think you, Dhananjani? Which is the better man? He that for the sake of his parents departs from righteousness and equity, or he that no matter what happens to them walks in righteousness and equity? 28. The latter, replied Dhananjani, for to walk in righteousness and equity is better than to depart therefrom. 29. Moreover, Dhananjani, there are other courses of action which are justified and righteous in themselves, whereby he can support his parents and yet avoid evil-doing and walk uprightly. Now, does the same reasoning apply to the support of wife and family and everything else? 20. It does, Sariputta. 21. Hereupon the Brahman, rejoicing in what the Reverend Sariputta had said, thanked him, rose up and went his way. How to reach perfection in righteous conduct. 1. Once while the Lord was staying at Shravasti, in Jita's grove, there came to him 500 lay followers. One of them was Dhammika. 2. Dhammika asked the Lord, what principles make your followers reach perfection in righteous conduct? 3. I ask thee this question because thou art the most matchless judge of the weal of men. 4. Trained jans and mendicants all failed to vanquish thee. Trained Brahmans, ripe in years, with others keen to air their point of view, are led to embrace thy saving truth. For is thy saving truth subtle, but preached so well, for which all yearn? Vouchsafe an answer, Lord, to us. 5. Let the lay followers learn from thy lips thy lore immaculate. 6. The blessed Lord, in compassion for his lay followers, said, give me your ear. I will explain the principles of righteous conduct. Hear and follow them. 7. Slay not, nor doom to death, nor sanction slaughter. Do no violence to aught that lives, strong or weak. 8. No layman, wittingly, should thieve, or order theft, or sanction any theft, take but what others give. 9. And shun incontinence as 'twere a pit of fire, or, failing continence, debauch no wedded wife. 10. In conclaves, courts, or talk let him not lie, let him not prompt or sanction lies, let him renounce untruth. 11. Layman, observe this law, shun drink, make no man drink, sanction no drinking. Mark how drink to madness leads. 12. Through drink fools sin, and egg lacks brethren on to sin. So flee this maddening vice, this folly, bliss of fools. 13. Slay not, nor steal, nor lie, from strong drink keep away, refrain from lechery, touch not wrong meals at night. 14. Eschew both scents and wreaths, spread on the ground thy bed, so make thy Sabbath woes as week succeeds to week, and keep with pious hearts this eightfold festival. 15. At morn, these vows performed, with pious, thankful heart be wise, and of thy means give almsmen food and drink. 16. Cherish thy parents well, follow a righteous trade. Thus shall the layman staunch reach realms of light above. One need not wait for a companion to tread on the path of righteousness. 1. An elephant in battle bears the arrow at him hurled. I must bear man's bitter tongues for every evil in the world. 2. Tamed, they lead him into battle, tamed, the king his back ascends, tamed, is he the best of beings when no bitter speech offends. 3. Good are well-tamed mules, and good are Scindian steeds of lineage famed, good indeed the mighty tusker, best of all the men self-tamed. 4. Yet such mounts cannot avail us, cannot be Nibbana's guide. We can only reach the path on the self-tamed self-ride. 5. Take delight in earnestness, watch thy thoughts and never tire. Lift thee from the path of evil, take the tusker out of mire. 6. Hast thou found a fellow traveler, upright, firm, intelligent? Leaving all thy cares behind thee, gladly walk with him intent. 7. Hast thou found no fellow traveler, upright, intelligent? As a king deserts his borders, by the enemy pursued, like the tusker in the forest, so go thy way in solitude. 8. Better is the lonely life, for fools companions cannot be. Live alone and do no evil, live alone with scanty needs, lonely, as the mighty tusker in the forest lonely feeds. 9. Expunge all bad thoughts. 10. Here is the way to expunge. 11. You are to expunge by resolving that, though others may be harmful, you will be harmless. 12. That, though others may kill, you will never kill. 13. That, though others may steal, you will not. 14. That, though others may not lead the higher life, you will. 15. That, though others may lie, produce, denounce, or prattle, you will not. 16. That, though others may be covetous, you will covet not. 17. That, though others may be malignant, you will be benignant. 18. That, though others may be given over to wrong views, wrong aims, wrong speech, actions, wrong modes of livelihood, wrong effort, wrong mindfulness and wrong concentration, you must follow the noble eightfold path in right outlook, right aims, right speech, right actions, right mode of livelihood, right efforts, right mindfulness and right concentration. 19. That, though others are wrong about the truth and wrong about deliverance, you will be right about truth and right about deliverance. 20. That, though others may be possessed by sloth and torpor, you will free yourself therefrom. 21. That, though others may be puffed up, you will be humble-minded. 22. That, though others may be perplexed by doubts, you will be free from them. 23. That, though others may harbor wrath, malevolence, envy, jealousy, niggardliness, avarice, hypocrisy, deceit, imperviseness, arrogance, forwardness, unscrupulousness, lack of instruction, inertness, bewilderment, and unwisdom, you will be the reverse of all these things. Section 4. Sermons on Nibbana. What is Nibbana? 1. Once the blessed Lord was staying at Shravasti, in Anathapindika's Arma where Sariputta was also staying. 2. The Lord addressing the brethren said, Almsmen, be ye partakers not of the world's goods but of my doctrine, in my compassion for you all I am anxious to ensure this. 3. Thus spoke the Lord, who thereupon rose and passed to his own cell. 4. Sariputta remained behind, and the brethren asked him to explain what is Nibbana. 5. Then Sariputta in reply to the brethren said, Brethren, know you that greed is vile, and vile is resentment. 6. To shed this greed and this resentment, there is the middle way which gives us eyes to see and makes us know, leading us on to peace, insight, enlightenment and Nibbana. 7. What is this middle way? It is not but the noble eightfold path of right outlook, right aims, right speech, right action, right means of livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness and right concentration, This, almsman, is the middle way. 8. Yes, sirs, anger is vile and malevolence is vile, envy and jealousy are vile, niggardliness and avarice are vile, hypocrisy and deceit and arrogance are vile, inflation is vile, and indolence is vile. 9. For the shading of inflation and indolence there is the middle way, giving us eyes to see, making us know, and leading us on to peace, insight, enlightenment. 10. Nibbana, which is not but that noble eightfold path. 11. Thus spoke the Reverend Sariputta, glad at heart. The almsman rejoiced at what he had said. The roots of Nibbana. 1. Once the Venerable Radha came to the Exalted One. Having done so, he saluted the Exalted One and sat down on one side. So seated, the Venerable Radha thus addressed the Exalted One, Pray, Lord, what for is Nibbana? 2. Nibbana means release from passion, replied the Lord. 3. But Nibbana, Lord, what is the aim of it? 4. Rooted in Nibbana, Radha, the righteous life is lived. Nibbana is its goal. Nibbana is its end. 2. 1. Once the Exalted One was dwelling at Shravasti, in Jita's grove, at Anathpindika's park. Then the Exalted One called the brethren, saying, Brethren. Yes, Lord, replied those brethren to the Exalted One. The Exalted One thus spake. 2. Do ye bear in mind, brethren, the 5 fetters that bind to the lower world, as taught by me? 3. Whereupon the Venerable Malunkyaputta said this to the Exalted One. 4. I, Lord, bear in mind those 5 fetters. 5. And how, Malunkyaputta, do you bear them in mind? 6. I bear in mind, Lord, the view of bodyhood, as taught by the Exalted One, and wavering, and the moral taint of dependence on rite and ritual, the excitement of sensual delight, and malevolence, taught by the Exalted One as fetters that bind to the lower world. These are the 5 fetters that I bear in mind, Lord. 7. As taught for whom, Malunkyaputta, do you bear in mind these 5 fetters? Will not the wanderers of other views reproach you, using the parable of a tender baby for their reproach and saying thus? 8. But, Malunkyaputta, there can be no bodyhood for a tender baby boy, dull of wits and lying on his back. How, then, can there arise in him any view of bodyhood? Yet there is indeed latent in him a tendency to the view of bodyhood. 9. Likewise, Malunkyaputta, there can be no mental conditions for a tender baby boy, dull of wits and lying on his back. How, then, can there be in him any wavering of mental conditions? Yet there is in him a latent tendency to wavering. 10. So also, Malunkyaputta, he can have no moral practice. How, then, can there be in him any moral taint of dependence on rite and ritual? Yet he has a latent tendency thereto. 11. Again, Malunkyaputta, that tender babe has no sensual passions. How, then, can be known the excitement of sensual delight? But the tendency is there. 12. Lastly, Malunkyaputta, for that tender babe beings do not exist. How then can it harbor malevolence against beings? Yet the tendency thereto is in him. 13. Now, Malunkyaputta, will not those wanderers of other views thus reproach you, using for their reproach the parable of that tender baby boy? 14. When this was said, the Venerable Ananda thus addressed the Exalted One, Now is the time, Exalted One. O wayfarer, now is the time for the Exalted One to set. Section V. Sermons on Dhamma. Why right views rank first? 1. Of the Noble Eightfold Path, the noblest is right outlook. 2. Right thinking is the preface and the key to everything else in the higher life, and ignorance. 3. The lack of understanding is the root of all evil. 4. For developing right outlook, one must see all phenomena of life as a process of causal law. To have right outlook is to recognize the law of cause and effect. 5. Whatsoever individual, brethren, follows perverted views, perverted aim, perverted speech or acts or living, perverted effort, attention, and contemplation, whose knowledge and emancipation are perverted, for him every action of deed, word or thought, performed and achieved according to such perverted views, every willed act, every aspiration, every resolve, all his activities, these things one and all conduce to what is distasteful, unpleasing, repulsive, unprofitable, and painful. And why so? Because of his evil view. 6. To be right is not enough. A baby may be right, but that does not mean that a baby knows what is right. To be right, one must know what is right. 7. Ananda, who can be rightly described as an almsman? Only he who has mastered what is rationally possible and what is rationally impossible. Why bother about life after death? 1. On a certain occasion, the Venerable Kassapa the Great and the Venerable Sariputta were staying near Benares at Isiptana in the Deer Park. 2. Then the Venerable Sariputta, rising up at eventide from solitude, went to the Venerable Kassapa the Great and sat down on one side. 3. So seated, the Venerable Sariputta said to the Venerable Kassapa the Great, "How now, friend Kassapa? Does the Tathagat exist beyond death?" 4. Undeclared is it, friend, by the Exalted One that the Tathagat exists beyond death. 5. What then, friend? Does the Tathagat both exist and not exist beyond death? 6. This also, friend, is undeclared by the Exalted One. 7. How then, friend? Does the Tathagat neither not exist beyond death? That also, friend, is not declared by the Exalted One. 8. But why, friend, has it not been declared by the Exalted One? 9. This is a question not concerned with profit to humanity or with the first principles of holy life. It does not lead to perfect wisdom nor to nirvana. That, friend, is why it is not declared by the Exalted One. Prayers and invocations to God are a futility. 1. Once the blessed Lord speaking to Vasitha said, 2. If this river Achiravati were full of water even to the brim and overflowing, and a man with business to be done on the further bank of it should come up and want to cross over. 3. And standing on that bank, he should invoke the further bank and say, "Come hither, O further bank. Come over to this side." 4. Now what think you, Vasitha? Would the further bank of the river Achiravati, by that man's invoking and praying and hoping and praising, come over to this side? 5. In just the same way, Vasitha, do the Brahmins, versed in the 3 Vedas, omitting the practice of those qualities which really make a man a Brahman and adopting the practice of those qualities which really make men non-Brahmans, say thus. 6. Indra we call upon, Brahma we call upon, Isna we call upon, Prajapati we call upon, Brahma we call upon, we call. 7. Verily, Vasitha, that these Brahmans, by reason of their invoking and praying and hoping and praising, should after death become united with Brahma, verily such a condition of things can in no wise be. It is not what you eat that makes you holy. 1. A Brahman happened to meet the Lord and raised the question of the effect of food on a man's character. 2. The Brahman said, "The millet grain, palm nuts, pulse, bulbs, and wilding shoots, this diet rightly got, ever prompts the good life. 'Tis eating carrion that is bad." 3. The Blessed One replied, "Though you, Lord, say you touch no carrion, you eat choice dishes made with flesh of birds, I ask what you term carrion." 4. Killing and maiming, stripes, bonds, theft, lies, fraud, deceit, adultery not meats, but these are carrion. 5. Pursuit of pleasure, lust for guslings, life unclean, blatant dissent not meats, but these are carrion. 6. Backbiting, cruelty, betrayals, ruthless pride, mean stinginess not meats, but these are carrion. 7. Anger, conceit, revolt, guile, envy, bluster, pride, low company not meats, but these are carrion. 8. Base living, slander, fraud, cheating, the trickster's wiles, foul infamies not meats, but these are carrion. 9. This rage to slay and steal, these crimes, are fraught with doom and end in hell not meats, but these are carrion. 10. No abstinence from meat and fish, no nudity, no top notes, shaven crowns, or garb of pelt, no cult of sacred fire, no stark austerities to purchase future bliss, no rinsing, burnt offering, rites, can cleanse the man who doubts. 11. Control thy sense, rule thy powers, hold to truth, be kind. The saint who leaves all ties and vanquishes all ills, is stained by naught he either sees or hears. 12. Hearing the Lord preach these lofty, saving truths, denouncing carrion and sweeping ills away, the Brahman meekly knelt and asked to be enrolled as almsman then and there. Not food but evil actions that matter. 1. A Brahman by name Amgandha was an ascetic who lived in the region of Himalayas with his pupils. 2. They ate neither fish nor flesh. Every year they came down from their hermitage in search of salt and acids. The inhabitants of the village received them with honor and gave them hospitality for 4 months. 3. Then the blessed Lord with his monks visited the same village. The people on hearing the Lord preach his Dhamma became his followers. 4. That year even Amgandha and his disciples as usual went to the villagers, but the villagers did not show the same enthusiasm. 5. Amgandha was disappointed to hear that the Lord did not forbid eating fish and flesh. Wishing to have the matter confirmed, he went to Jetavana at Shravasti, where the blessed Lord was then staying, and said, 6. Millet, singula beans and peas, edible leaves and roots, the fruit of any creeper, the righteous who eat these, obtained justly, do not tell lies for the sake of pleasures. 7. Thou eatest whatever food is given by others, which is well prepared, nicely got up, pure and excellent. He who enjoys such food made of rice, he eats Amgandha. You say that the charge of Amgandha does not apply to me, while eating rice with well-prepared bird's flesh. 8. I inquire the meaning of this from you, of what kind is your Amgandha? 9. The Lord replied, taking life, beating, cutting, binding, stealing, lying, fraud, deceiving, worthless knowledge, adultery, this is Amgandha and not the eating of flesh. 10. In this world those individuals who are unrestrained in sensual pleasures, who are greedy for sweet things, who are associated with impure actions, who are of nihilistic views, crooked, difficult to follow, this is Amgandha and not the eating of flesh. 11. In this world those who are rude, harsh, backbiting, treacherous, unkind, excessively egoistic, ungenerous, and do not give anything to anybody, this is Amgandha and not the eating of flesh. 12. Anger, pride, obstinacy, antagonism, deceit, envy, boasting, excessive egoism, association with the unrighteous, this is Amgandha and not eating of flesh. 13. Those who are of bad morals, refuse to pay their debt, slanderers, deceitful in their dealings, pretenders, those who in this world being the vilest of men, commit such wrongdoings, this is Amgandha and not the eating of flesh. 14. Those persons who, in this world, are uncontrolled towards living beings, who are bent on injuring others, having taken their belongings, immoral, cruel, harsh, disrespectful, this is Amgandha and not the eating of flesh. 15. Those who attack these living beings either because of greed or of hostility, and always bent upon evil, they go to darkness after death and fall into hell headlong, this is Amgandha and not the eating of flesh. 16. Abstaining from fish or flesh, nakedness, shaving of the head, matted hair, covering with ashes, wearing rough deer skins, attending the sacrificial fire, nor all these various penances in the world, performed for immortality, neither incantations, oblations, sacrifices nor seasonal observances, purifies a person who has not overcome his doubt. 17. He who lives with his senses guarded and conquered, and is established in the Dhamma, delights in uprightness and gentleness, who has gone beyond attachments and has overcome all sorrows, that wise man does not cling to what is seen and heard. 18. It is evil actions which constitute Amgandha and not the eating of fish or flesh. Not enough is outward washing. 1. Once the Exalted One was dwelling at Shravatsi, and the Brahman Sandharva also dwelt there. Now he was a cleanser by water, and practiced cleansing by water. Night and day he abode given to the habit of going down to bathe. 2. Now the Venerable Ananda, robing himself at an early hour and taking outer robe and ball, went forth to Shravatsi to bed. And when he had gone his rounds in Shravatsi and had eaten his meal, upon his return, he went to the Exalted One, saluted him, and sat down on one side. So seated, the Venerable Ananda said, 3. Lord, there is here one Sangarva, a Brahman, dwelling at Shravatsi, a cleanser by water, one who practices cleansing by water. Night and day does he abide given to the habit of going down to bathe. Well were it, Lord, if the Exalted One would pay a visit to the Brahman Sangarva out of compassion for him. 4. And the Exalted One consented by his silence. 5. So next day at an early hour, the Exalted One robed himself and taking outer robe and ball went to the dwelling of the Brahman Sangarva, and when he got there he sat down on a seat made ready. 6. Then the Brahman Sangarva came to the Exalted One and greeted him, and after the exchange of mutual courtesies sat down on one side. 7. As he thus sat, the Exalted One said this to the Brahman Sangarva, Is it true, Brahman, as they say, that thou art a cleanser by water, that thou dost practice cleansing by water, abiding night and day given to the habit of going down to bathe? 8. True it is, Master Gotama. 9. Now, Brahman, seeking what profit dost thou so practice the habit of going down to bathe, and so forth? 10. It is in this way, Master Gotama. Whatsoever evil I do by day, I get it washed away that very evening by my bathing. Whatsoever evil I do by night, I get it washed away next morning by my bathing. That is the profit I am looking for in being a cleanser by water, and so forth. 11. Then said the Exalted One. 12. The norm is the pool. It is clear and undefiled. 13. Hither when they have come to bathe, the masters of the lore are cleansed in every limb and pass unto the further shore. 14. Whereupon the Brahman Sangarva said to the Exalted One, Excellent it is, Master Gotama. May the Master Gotama accept me as his follower, from this day forth so long as life doth last, as one who has taken refuge in him. What is holy life? 1. Once while the blessed Lord was on journey he gave, as was his practice, the following discourse to the bhikkhus who were accompanying him. 2. Addressing the bhikkhus the Lord said, O brethren, this holy life is not practiced with a view to deceive people, nor to seek their favor, nor for the purpose of gain, benefit, or fame, nor with the intention of getting out of difficulties in controversy, nor that one may be known as such and such by men. Indeed, brethren, this holy life is practiced for the controlling of body and speech, the cleansing of corruptions, and the detachment from and cessation of craving. Section 6. Sermons on socio-political questions. Do not depend on the favor of princes. Once the Exalted One was staying at Rajagraha in the bamboo grove in the squirrels' feeding ground. 2. At that time Prince Ajatshatru was supporting Devdatta, who had turned hostile to the blessed Lord. 3. He was maintaining the supporters of Devdatta, late and early with 500 carts, conveying therein food brought in 500 cooking pots. 4. Then a number of the brethren came before the Exalted One, saluted him, and sat down on one side, and there sitting they told all of these things to the Exalted One. 5. Then the blessed Lord addressing the brethren said, Do ye not long for gains, favors and flattery from the kings? So long, brethren, as Prince Ajatshatru thus supports Devdatta late and early, with 500 carts, conveying therein food brought in 500 cooking pots, it is ruin, brethren, that may be expected of Devdatta, and not growth in good conditions. 6. Just as if, brethren, one were to crumble liver on a mad dog's nose, the dog would only get the madder, even so, brethren, so long as Prince Ajatshatru thus supports Devdatta, it is ruin that may be expected of Devdatta, and not growth in good conditions. Thus terrible, brethren, are gains, favors, and flattery of the princes. 7. They are a bitter, painful hindrance to the attainment of the sure peace that passeth all. 8. Wherefore, brethren, thus must you train yourselves, when gains, favors and flattery befall us, we will reject them, and when they do befall us, they shall not lay hold of and be established in our hearts, and make us slaves of the prince. If the king is righteous, his subjects will be righteous. 1. Once the Lord addressing the almsmen said, 2. Brethren, during such time as kings are unrighteous, their ministers and officers also become unrighteous. The ministers and officers, brethren, being unrighteous, Brahmans and householders also become unrighteous. The Brahmans and householders, brethren, being unrighteous, the town folk and villagers become unrighteous. 3. But whenever, brethren, kings are righteous, then kings' ministers and officers also become righteous. Whenever kings' ministers and officers become righteous, the Brahmans and householders also become righteous. Whenever Brahmans and householders become righteous, the town folk and villagers also become righteous. 4. When kine are crossing, if the old bull swerves, they all go swerving, following his lead. So among men, if he who is reckoned chief walks crookedly, the others crooked go. 5. Similarly, the whole realm suffers when the king goes wrong. When kine are crossing, if the bull goes straight, they all go straight because his course is straight. So among men, if he who's reckoned chief walks righteously, the others live aright. The whole realm lead happy lives when kings are good. It is the social system on which depends political and military strength. 1. The Blessed One was once dwelling in Rajagraha, on the hill called the Vulture's Peak. 2. Now at that time, Ajatshatru, the son of the queen consort of Videha origin, the king of Magad, was desirous of attacking the Vajdans, and he said to himself, I will root out these Vajdans, mighty and powerful though they be. I will destroy these Vajdans, I will bring these Vajdans to utter ruin. 3. So he spoke to the Brahman Vaskara, the prime minister of Magad, and said, 4. Come now, O Brahman, do you go to the Blessed One, and bow down in adoration at his feet on my behalf and inquire on my behalf whether he is free from illness and suffering and in the enjoyment of ease and comfort and vigorous health. 5. Then tell him that Ajatshatru, son of Videhi, the king of Magad, is eager to attack the Vajdans, mighty and powerful though they be. I will destroy these Vajdans, I will bring these Vajdans to utter ruin. 6. And bear carefully in mind whatever the Blessed One may predict, and repeat it to me. For the Buddha speaks nothing untrue. 7. Then the Brahman Vaskara hearkened to the words of the king, saying, Be it as you say. And ordering a number of magnificent carriages to be ready, he went to the Vulture's Peak. 8. On arriving there, he exchanged with the Blessed One the greetings and compliments, and then delivered to him the message even as the king had commanded. 9. Now at that time the Venerable Ananda was standing behind the Blessed One. And the Blessed One said to him, Have you heard, Ananda, that the Vajdans hold full and frequent public assemblies? 10. Lord, so I have heard, replied he. 11. So long, Ananda, rejoined the Blessed One, as the Vajdans hold these full and frequent public assemblies, so long may they be expected not to decline, but to prosper. 12. So long, Ananda, as the Vajdans meet together in concord, and rise in concord, and carry out their undertakings in concord. 13. So long as they enact nothing not already established, abrogate nothing that has been already enacted, and act in accordance with the ancient institutions of the Vajdans as established in former days. 14. So long as they honor and esteem and revere and support the Vajdin elders, and make it a point of duty to hearken to their words. 15. So long as no women or girls belonging to their clans are detained among them by force or abduction. 16. So long as the Vajdans respect and follow religion. 17. So long, Ananda, the Vajdans may be expected not to decline but to prosper, and no one can destroy them. 18. In short, the Blessed Lord declared that so long as the Vajdans believe in democracy and practice democracy, there is no danger to their state. 19. Then the Blessed One addressed Vaskara and said, 20. When I was once staying, O Brahman, at Vaishali I taught the Vajjans these conditions of welfare. 21. We may expect then, answered the Brahman, the welfare and not the decline of the Vajjans, so long as they observe these conditions. So, Gotama, the Vajjans cannot be overcome by the king of Magad. 22. So Vaskara heard the words of the Blessed One, rose from his seat and went back to Rajagraha to inform the king of what the Lord had said. War is wrong. 1. It so happened that Ajatshatru, the king of Magad, mustering an army of cavalry and infantry, invaded Kashi, a part of the kingdom of King Pasendi. And Pasendi, hearing of the expedition, also mustered a similar army and went to meet him. 2. The two fought with one another and Ajatshatru defeated the king Pasendi, who retreated to his own capital Shravasti. 3. The bhikkhus who were in Shravasti returning from their alms round came and told the Exalted One of the battle and the retreat. 4. Almsman, the king of Magad, Ajatshatru, is a friend of whatever is evil. King Pasendi is a friend of whatever is good. For the present, Pasendi will pass the night in misery, a defeated man. 5. Conquest engenders hate, the conquered lives in misery. But whoso is at peace and passionless, happily doth he live, conquest hath he abandoned and defeat. 6. Again it so happened these two kings met in battle a second time. But in that battle the Kosala king Pasendi defeated Ajatshatru and captured him alive. Then King Pasendi thought, although this king injures me who was not injuring him, yet is he my nephew. What if I were now to confiscate his entire army, elephants, horses, chariots and infantry and leave him only his life? And he did so. 7. And almsmen returning from their alms tour in Shravasti brought word of this to the Exalted One. Thereupon the Exalted One said, a man may spoil another, just so far as it may serve his ends, but when he's spoiled by others, he, despoiled, spoils yet again. 8. So long as evil's fruit is not matured, the fool doth fancy now's the hour, the chance. But when the deed bears fruit, he fareth ill. 9. The slayer gets a slayer in his turn, the conqueror gets one who conquers him, the abuser wins abuse from another. 10. Thus by the evolution of the deed, a man who spoils is spoiled in his turn. The duty of the victor who has won peace. 1. When the victor in war has won the peace, he claims the right further to degrade the vanquished if not to enslave him. The Buddha had a totally different view on the matter. In his view, if peace had any meaning, it means that the victor has a duty to use his victory for the service of the vanquished. This is what he said to the bhikkhus on this subject. 2. When peace is won, the adept in warfare needs to prove an able, upright man, of gracious speech, kind mood, devoid of arrogance, an easy, grateful guest, no busybody wants but few sense disciplined, quick-witted, bluster-free, never importunate, and let him never stoop to conduct mean or low, evoking grave rebuke. 3. May creatures all abound in weal and peace, may all be blessed with peace always, all creatures weak or strong, all creatures great and small, creatures unseen or seen dwelling afar or near, born or awaiting birth, may all be blessed with peace. 4. Let none cajole or flout his fellows anywhere, let none wish others harm in dudgeon or in hate. 5. Just as with her own life a mother shields from hurt her only child, let all embracing thoughts for all that lives be thine, and all embracing love for all the universe in all its heights and depths and breadths, unstinted love, unmarred by hate within, not rousing enmity. 6. So, as you stand or walk, or sit, or lie, reflect with all your might on this, is deemed a state divine.